You think a football match can't hurt you? You're wrong. A football match has rewritten constitutions of the heart. It has changed what a country wears, what it names its children, what it refuses to talk about at dinner 50 years later. The World Cup is the only event on Earth where 200 million people can be wounded by a single kick, at the same second. These are 5 moments that didn't just decide trophies. They broke nations. And one of them ends with a murder. 1. The ghost of 1950. Start with arrogance. Brazil, 1950. The war is over, the world is rebuilding, and Brazil decides to announce itself by building the largest stadium mankind has ever seen, the Maracanazo. 200,000 capacity, a concrete declaration that Brazil's century has begun. They reach the final round, needing only a draw against Uruguay, a country with the population of one Rio neighborhood. The newspaper O Mundo prints a photo of the team the morning of the match. These are the world champions. Carnival floats are ready. The victory song is recorded. The governor gives a speech before kickoff addressing the players as you who will be crowned champions in a few hours. Minute 79. Alcides Gigia, a quiet winger with a thin mustache, shoots at the near post. Moacir Barbosa, Brazil's goalkeeper, expects the cross. The ball goes in. 200,000 people make no sound at all. FIFA's president later said the silence was morbid, almost too difficult to bear. There was no trophy ceremony. He just handed the cup to Uruguay's captain like a man passing on bad news. Brazil burned it all down. They never wore those white shirts again. A newspaper ran a competition to design a new identity, and a teenager's gold and green sketch became the most famous jersey in sport. But someone had to carry the blame, and Brazil chose Barbosa, the goalkeeper, a black man in 1950s Brazil. He was turned away from jobs, whispered about in markets. Decades later, he said the sentence that should hang in every stadium on earth. The maximum sentence in Brazil is 30 years. I have served 50, too, the hand and the war. Some matches are never just matches. In 1982, Britain and Argentina fought a real war over the Falkland Islands. Young men died. 4 years later, the draw of a football tournament did something no diplomat would have dared. Argentina versus England, quarter-final, Mexico City. Maradona said it later, plainly. We knew this wasn't just another match. It was about more than a game. You know what happened, but feel the sequence. Minute 51, a 5'5" man outjumps England's goalkeeper and punches the ball into the net, then sprints away, glancing back like a pickpocket checking for police. The referee gives it. England's players chase the officials like men watching a burglary in progress. 4 minutes later, the same man takes the ball in his own half and runs through the entire England team. 11 seconds that get voted the goal of the century. For Argentina, still raw from a lost war and a fallen dictatorship, it felt like justice delivered by the only weapon they had left. For England, it became a 40-year wound with a name. Every World Cup since, every penalty shootout lost, gets measured against the original injustice. 1 man, 4 minutes, 2 nations that never watched football the same way again. 3. The headbutt. Zinedine Zidane was the son of Algerian immigrants from a concrete estate in Marseille, and by 2006, he was the most beloved man in France, the proof, people said, that the new France could work. The 2006 final in Berlin was the last match of his career. A fairy tale script: win the World Cup, walk into legend. He even scores in the final, an outrageous chipped penalty off the crossbar. France and Italy go to extra time at 1-1. Minute 110. Italy's Marco Materazzi grabs him. Words are exchanged, insults about Zidane's sister. Zidane walks away. 5 steps, then he turns, and the most graceful player of his generation drives his bald head into Materazzi's chest like a battering ram. The red card, and then the single most haunting image in sports history. Zidane walking past the World Cup trophy, close enough to touch it, and down the tunnel into retirement. France loses the shootout. France didn't rage at him. France grieved. The president defended him. A philosopher wrote essays about it, because every French fan understood they'd watched something Greek, a hero destroyed not by an opponent, but by his own pride, 10 minutes from eternity. 4. the 7-1. Brazil had waited 64 years to host the World Cup again. One chance to finally bury the ghost of 1950 in front of their own people. Instead, they exhumed it. Semi-final Belo Horizonte against Germany. By minute 29, it is 5-0. 5. In 18 minutes, Germany scores 4 times, and the cameras find Brazilian fans doing something football crowds never do. Not booing, not crying, laughing. The laugh of people watching their own house burn, because what else is there? It ends 7-1, the Mineirazo they call it now, the son of the Maracanazo. Brazil, the nation of 5 stars, the inventors of joy in football, suffered the worst semi-final defeat in World Cup history at home. Newspapers used a single word in giant type: vergonha. Shame. 1950 broke Brazil's heart. 2014 broke something colder: the belief that being Brazilian, by itself, meant something on a football pitch. 5. The own goal. This one is not like the others. Andrés Escobar was the gentleman of Colombian football. They called him El Caballero del Fútbol. Elegant, devout, engaged to be married, the captain-class defender of a golden generation that Pelé tipped to win the 1994 World Cup. Against the USA, stretching to cut out a cross, Escobar turned the ball into his own net. An accident of geometry. Colombia were eliminated. He wrote a column afterward asking for calm. Life doesn't end here, it finished. 10 days later, in a parking lot in Medellin, he was shot 6 times. Witnesses said the gunman shouted goal with each shot. Colombia, already bleeding from the cartel wars, poured 120,000 people into the streets for his funeral. One own goal, the cruelest proof in the sport's history that the beautiful game is never only a game. And a wound Colombian football carries into every World Cup since, including this one. 5 moments, 5 nations that learned the same lesson. The World Cup doesn't visit a country, it moves in. It rearranges the furniture of who you are. And starting this week, 48 nations hand it the keys again, knowing everything you just heard. That's not stupidity, that's the beautiful madness. Subscribe, because for the next 6 weeks, we're telling these stories as they happen.